And we are live. Hello, everyone, on this beautiful day. I'm joined by the fantastic Travis. Say hello, Travis.
How's it going?
Great to have you. I'm so excited for this conversation today. So, Travis is an incredible expert in TikTok, Facebook, Instagram ads. He's been working in high ticket sales for a long time, helping coaches improve their ads and their funnels. We're going to be delving into his story, his background, talking deeper into some kind of marketing tactics and techniques, ways to improve your funnel in terms of webinars, ads, and also the actual product and offering that you have with funnels. So, really excited for you to join me today.
Oh yeah, excited too.
Awesome. Cool. So I guess the first question would be, of course, very short introduction on who you are, but if you could tell me more about your background and share with the listeners today how you got started on this journey.
Yeah, I have a background in music actually. I went to college, BYU. I studied music, playing guitar. I wanted to be the next John Mayer. It's my guy. But and while I was in college, I was also taking some business classes too and stuff like that. But my guitar professor, one day I was telling him some interest in business, stuff like that, but we're also playing guitar and stuff. And he just, you should really be studying marketing. You shouldn't be studying music. I was like, why? I love the guitar and everything. He's like, let me tell you about this. And so he started a company using ClickFunnels called Ukulele Hymns, basically selling a ukulele hymn book / course, teaching like religious people how to play hymns with the ukulele. And his first year made well over 6 figures. And I was like, whoa, like that was always like the dream in college. He convinced me to stop studying music. I still did it for fun, but switch and transition more toward marketing. And then through that, I was able to get my first internship doing Facebook ads for a consulting company over that summer. I didn't know what I was doing. There's zero training. And I think I lost them close to 50 grand over the course of 3 months. And I don't know why they didn't fire me each week.
I'll quickly cut in there. I think the first point that you made, just to go in there, I think it's incredible. Immediately, the takeaway is niching down the importance of that. How many people think of ukulele, hymn, like
Yeah.
coaching and training as a core product, and that kind of goes to show, if that can be especially a great way to niche down is finding the intersection across two different things or two or more. So like religion and music, clearly it works really well, but
Right.
then even more specific, ukulele and
Yeah.
hymn, right? So yeah, niching down is definitely the immediate takeaway there. And then the second one, how helpful it is when you're starting out, the attitude that people have in terms of being aware and more lenient in a sense of that you are learning and it's a new process for you.
Yeah, no, that's true. The Facebook ads platform changes all the time. And one common mistake I see with media buyers, even with myself, is they all start as media buyers and not as copywriters. If I could go back and do it again, I would start and learn copywriting first and then go to media buying, because there definitely is a structure and a strategy to media buying to get profitable results. But like what I've realized, especially the past like 6 to 8 months, is copywriting is the real thing that has made a big difference.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And do you maybe have any recommendations off the bat on how to get started learning copywriting first?
I'll just recommend what my copywriting coach told me. He told me to read 5 different books, scientific advertising, and then My Life in Advertising. I have them next to me, so I'm reading the titles. The Robert Collier letter, How to Make Your Advertising Make Money, and How to Write a Good Advertisement and Breakthrough Advertising. So those 5 books, he had me read them within a week. So I'd read a book a week for 5 weeks, and then he's reread them. And the second time I reread them, he had me take flashcard notes, all the winning headlines and all of the killer offers and stuff, because these were books from the 1900s for newspaper advertisers as well as mail order advertising. And they would run campaigns for over 2 years plus. Don't change a thing. Send a piece of mail, send it to their audiences, and like they would test, but like they could say the same piece of mail for 2 years. I'm like, man, how come you can't do that on Facebook? And I mean, there's algorithm issues and stuff like that. But once I found out like the reason why they're successful, and then I had all this ammunition of like flashcards of all the killer offers, all the killer headlines that they use, I can turn that into my own ads on Facebook. And just recently I had an ad, I haven't changed it. It was bringing leads in the financial market for less than $5. I ran it for 8 months or whatever. And I was like, whoa, crack the code. So it did fatigue though after 8 months. So I'm trying to figure out that next ad.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible. Yep. And yeah, maybe a quick question around this. So on average, how long would you say an ad can last? What's an average and what's like a very strong ad copy?
Yeah, so my whole spiel is write a good prospecting ad, focus on retargeting later. Retargeting still works, but iOS 14 has screwed things over, but it still works. But like my whole thing is like a lot of people will test a ton. When I first started media buying, I was writing new ads every week. I was testing new things every week, and I still test every week. But if you can write a good prospecting ad from like the 8-month ad or something like that, and when I talk about writing an ad, I talk about everything from the ad copy to the headline to the creative, right? If you can get that good from the start, then it'll be less testing and you'll see results quicker and quicker to scale. So, but I would say on average, 2 to 3 weeks, I'll change up ad sets type deal, ad groups.
Right. Shows that 8 months is more than almost 16 times as long as good copy. It's super impressive. And in terms of the actual content of the ad, you mentioned prospecting ad. Are there different types of ads, and what's special about prospecting ads?
Yeah. So in my opinion, there's two core really ads. There's just the prospecting ad and the retargeting ad. And people will tell you like with bigger budgets, I still do like video view and engagement ads with bigger budgets. With bigger budgets, I mean 1,000 a day or more. But anything below that, I really just keep it to prospecting conversion ads, right? And so I'll put 90% of my budget into an audience. I have an audience campaign going. I have a creative testing campaign going. In the audience testing, I have the best creatives, and I put that and test different audiences. And the audience campaign, or in the creative campaign, I use the best audiences and test new creative. And when I mean creative, I test either new pictures, new videos, new headlines, or new ad copy in the primary text portion. So as far as Facebook and Instagram goes, TikTok's a little different. Yeah.
And in terms of what's successful, what are the metrics you're looking at? What are you measuring?
As far as KPIs, I look at CPMs, so like cost per thousand impressions, just to gauge where that's taken me over time. I look at cost per click, so that kind of gauges how the ad is doing. And then obviously on the funnel side, I look at cost per lead, cost per add to cart, cost per acquisition is the end goal, cost per purchase or whatever you're wanting them to do, and just key steps down the funnel. It's different for everyone, but typically when I make decisions, I'll look at first which one's getting my best cost per acquisition, and I'll filter by that, and I'll look at that, and I'll turn off the ones that are doing bad. And then the second metric I look at is cost per click. Which one is maybe not getting the greatest cost per acquisition, but has a killer cost per click? So I'll start filtering through that. And then CPMs is more of just a guide for me to see how expensive these audiences are.
Awesome. Cool. That's already some great insights on the data-driven side of the marketing that you do. I'd love to rewind back to your story. Coming out of college, you landed your first freelance client, right? Investment Fund Secrets. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah. A little backup behind that. So after I had that consulting job and lost that company tons of money, so I was looking for help during that time because even though they're still paying me, it was like an hourly. I just hate the feeling of I was still losing, and like I feared I would get fired each week. And so I reached out to a lot of my professors, and they connected me with other people. And then finally, I reached out to my old college professor who had the ukulele business, and he had an ads guy who helped him scale to six figures. And so his name was Mitch Adams. He used to be the media buyer for ClickFunnels, launched a traffic secrets book, made it New York Times bestseller, was like very successful. And I still talk with him today. He's great. I connected with him, and basically he was telling me, and he says, your ads aren't actually the issue. Your ads are actually getting like a 3% click-through rate. You're getting a good cost per click. The reason they're not converting is because the funnel sucks. Like that's not converting. And I finally put in all the data and kind of saved me my job. And basically, they had a 65% abandoned cart rate because there's a pricing issue. They didn't show the price until they added to cart or something like that. And so that was like a key component for me to realize, oh, like it's not always the ads guy's fault. It could be the funnel's fault. There's two things. And Mitch later on was just like, hey, like you want to learn ads the right way? I'm like, sure. And he hired me on, and I was able to help him with my guitar professor. And he was like my first client, even though I was working for Mitch. And so I did that for about a year. And that was my last year of college. Then I basically was doing I wanted to start my own thing right out of college just because all my college professors, I struggled. I talked to all of them, and they all worked corporate, even for Microsoft, big companies. I was like, how fast did you make six figures? Oh yeah, it took me like 6-7 years. I'm like, no, like I don't want to hear that. And so finally I was like, I think entrepreneurship is the fastest way. And yeah, and then I reached out to this guy named Bridger Pennington. I reached out to his Instagram account. He had 30K followers at the time. I'm like, hey, this is probably your social media manager, but I would love to chat with you on how to do startups, right? Because I'm doing a startup for paid media. And so he hopped on a call, and he's just a nice guy. And he's like, no, it wasn't my social media manager. It's actually me like managing this. And so we got chatting, and he basically told me, hey, if you're planning on doing a startup and looking for clients, I would love to test you out. We just got our last Facebook ad account banned. We got our whole domain blacklisted from Facebook. We're starting fresh, brand new pixel, brand new everything. And he's like, my co-founder, he's the marketing genius who's scaled us to $1 million already. And it's been like their first, 18 months or something in business. And he's just, if you can beat our cost per lead for our ads guy, like we'll hire you on. And so they had an online course teaching people how to become fund managers. It was basically an opt-in to a 1-hour webinar, Russell Brunson style, perfect webinar style, and then $2,000 product mastermind course. I was like, sure, I'll take on the challenge. And so they gave me $1,000 to play with. And I was thankfully able to beat their ads guy. And so they hired me on, and I kept doing it. And I've been with them for about a little over a year now. In 2020, they made around 1.8 million or 2 mil or something like that. But this past year in 2021, I was able to scale them. They made 4 million this year. So doubled it. And so that just shows the power of ads. A lot of people don't believe in Facebook ads, think it's too expensive since iOS updates. But like even this year, we're probably going to see close to 5 point something to 6 mil or something like that, because their funnel works. It's good. And not to say that it always works. So like their webinar converted, but then near the tail end of the summer of 2021, it just stopped converting. So we changed it up to call funnel, and now that's killing it. So webinars and things like that, they need to be changed to just as much as ads. Hopefully not as much as ads, but it just shows that there's definitely trends that go on.
Wow. It's so interesting. There's a few points I think worth playing back. One, again, just like having Mitch Adams support you early on, be your Yoda,
Totally.
is like an incredible thing to have, especially one of the original media buyers from ClickFunnels. It's a huge figure to have you support. And again, like leveraging your position, especially if you're a beginner, really help you on that journey. The second thing was really having the courage to really just reach out to the person on Instagram. And that's essentially what created this first investment fund secrets freelance client. The phrase "ask and you shall receive," but it's
Right.
exactly that. Without being in the game, you can't win it. And so that's super, super interesting. And then the third point you made was about essentially constantly experimenting. Even this business, which is already fully scaled up, 4 million, 5 million we're talking about, still can run into issues. And when you do, see a slowdown, you learn to experiment. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and also another point too was like, so I think one thing college did teach me, one thing they're really good at, they just leverage LinkedIn prospecting just for informational interviews. So even from freshman year, I was doing informational interviews just to see what other people were doing up until like my senior year. Because I was always in music classes, but I always did 1 or 2 marketing classes or like business classes. Got me in the game. But because of that, I was able to see like a broader spectrum of I've been like interviewing people at least like once or twice a week. I was like obsessed with it. But just figuring out what everyone did. I would go into their office. What do you do? Why do you like it? I was very curious on like how people made money. And it wasn't until like my junior year that I was like, really, these marketers, they're all loving what they're doing. Just talking with a bunch of people that are higher up than you gives people more perspective.
Yeah. Putting yourself out there, listening to people's stories also gives you the benefit of being able to understand like what the different careers, what the different paths are for your life. So definitely worthwhile to have those interviews with people you admire, people you look up to, and also people that you can be inspired from. And you mentioned that you were given a budget of $1,000 of this company that was already doing incredible sales. How on earth did you manage to beat their ads guy?
Okay, so their ads guy, it was originally 2 people. It was Bridger. He was like the face of the company and the coach to teach people how to become fund managers and stuff like that, creating the content. And then there was Mason Brands. He's a great guy. And they're both in their early 20s, millionaire, successful guys. So around the same age. And Mason, he's a marketing copywriter, brains of the company. And he started out as a media buyer and they tried to do that. And he was doing everything, all the copywriting, all the emails, all of everything. And so some of the tactics that I saw him using on the new ad account were different than what Mitch taught me, which in my opinion, I don't think he was keeping up at the times. He was just using the old tactics back in 2018, 2017. And so their lead cost got expensive. It was something like $30, $40. They were using dynamic creative at the time, which I don't believe in. I just use unique creative. And they're also at the time using expanded audience, which I didn't believe in expanded audiences. Now it forces you to do expanded audiences and it works fine. But like Facebook changes all the time, I guess is the point I'm saying. Like at the time, he's using expanded audiences, which was reaching way more than what he was targeting. And I was like niching down. So I got his lead cost from $30, $40 down to close to $15 at the time. And so he was just like, man, all right, we'll just keep rolling with you. The point is Facebook does change and you have to keep up with Facebook news and the ads platform to figure out what's working and what's not. And when a new thing comes out, definitely test it. Facebook's still coming out with like new targeting or new ways to target people and just test it, put a small budget in because you never know if it'll take off, right?
Yeah, absolutely. One question immediately on like the details. You mentioned dynamic and unique creative. What's the difference between those?
The only difference is so like dynamic creative, I've seen a lot of people still use it. I don't know. I have not seen success with it. I even was competed for investment fund secrets with Dean Graciosi's ad agency and I beat them. They were all using dynamic creative. Another thing too was that they made pretty pictures, but they didn't spend the time doing the copywriting stuff. And so they didn't actually know what they're selling. They just made the pretty pictures, made the copy seem good, but it was not, in my opinion. That's why my copy beat theirs like by a lot. But dynamic creative, you can put in 10 different headlines at once. You can put 10 different ad copies. You can put 10 different pictures or videos at once. You used to be able to distinguish which ad out of the dynamic did best. But now the tracking and everything's weird. So even though you're doing it, you can't track which headline or copy or picture is the best within those. I always test 4 things of one thing at a time. So let's say you have a campaign, you have a bunch of ad sets in there. Within each ad set, I have 4 different ads. First, I start out with testing out different videos or pictures. So I'll have 4 different videos, same ad copy, same headlines. Once I find the winners, let's say I find 2 winners, then I'll take those 2 winning videos and I'll test 2 different headlines. Once I find that, then I'll find the best video with the best headline. And once I find that, then I'll test ad copy. And that's like the process I go through. So that you're only testing, that's the whole thing that scientific advertising teaches. It's like test one thing at a time. So it's like scientific, not just throwing it out there.
Yeah, awesome. So it's super interesting how scientific this all is. Test the control against the change and only change one variable. I think that's an important point that you made, that you don't want to be changing everything all at the same time, because then you don't know which part or which change is the one that made the impact. Again, two takeaways that I'd like to mention is just the importance of sharpening the saw. So, one of the 7 habits of highly effective people, sharpening the saw, keeping yourself up to date with what's going on. So, for example, kind of tangential is Google Analytics is changing. So now they moved from the old style to Google Analytics 4. That's that kind of high information you should be aware of. But yeah, you don't need to get into the weeds of everything. Anything else you want to mention around that, Travis?
I'd like to mention for coaches specifically, I work specifically with coaches and course creators. They use a platform called Hyros. I'm sure a lot of people who are in the coaching space are familiar with it. And it's really good if you're running multiple traffic sources and to see exactly where it's coming, because tracking on any ad platform is wonky. Like even TikTok, it's a new platform, right? I'm running ads on there too. And like what TikTok tells me for conversions, it can be off by about, I would say right now it's like 15-20% sometimes, but still it can make a big difference. So like with Hyros, it can track exactly which ad set it's coming from and which specific creative it's coming from. Because sometimes Facebook will say, oh yeah, it reported this revenue from this ad, when in reality Hyros is, no, it was actually from this ad. But like that can make a big difference in giving you correct data. And so they do it for Google ads, YouTube ads, TikTok ads, and their email. So we can see specifically omni-channel. So coaches who are making enough, and when I say that, I would say at least 30-40K a month, I would say it's worth it to get Hyros because it's expensive. It's a good platform. Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, Hyros, we will also put the link in the show notes, is the tool to use to optimize your ads.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Now going into the issues that you mentioned. So with high ticket sales especially, there's a couple of things that can go wrong, or 2 broad buckets. Maybe you can talk about those 2 broad buckets.
Yeah, just the broad bucket in general. There's lots of different funnels for coaches, but is an ads issue or funnel issue, it's always the problem. And so before I take on any client, I have this like calculator sheet basically that just forecasts, lets you make assumptions of, I know like my average cost per click for certain industries for course creators or coaches. And so I can plug my average cost per click of what I think I can get them to do on a conservative level. And then there's something like the webinar funnel, right? There's a live webinar funnel. There's an automated webinar funnel where it goes from opt-in to the webinar to the sale, right? To the checkout. There's also call funnels. If you're strictly in the coaching space and have a team of setters or have time to do it on your own, it could just go from like a case study. I've seen this a lot. So they'll give out a free case study or something like that, and it hits them hard with some good email campaigns that get them to book a call, and then it books a call. Or it can go from, I've done a tripwire funnel. So I've done like mini courses. So let's say you're a coach and you have a free lead magnet. Let's say it's a free mini course on what you're teaching, and you can give it to them for $7 or $47 or $27. There's lots of different options. And so you're almost not profitable on the front end doing those, but then after they buy the low ticket item, it goes to a webinar or it can go to a phone call. But typically I've seen it go to a presentation of some sort saying book a phone call, goes to a phone call, and then they sell them on the high ticket stuff. So those are just, I would say, the 3 different funnels I've worked with and seen successful. I know there's always new ones coming out, but yeah.
Awesome. So webinars, kind of case studies, and other lead magnets, and also phone calls work well. Once you've qualified them, once they've picked up your free or cheap content as a tripwire, then you can move them on to the back of the funnel where there's high ticket items.
Yep. And a lot of people say go high ticket first versus low ticket. And I don't think there's a correct way to do it. I've seen people go straight to high ticket and then low ticket after, which is fine in my opinion, as long as the funnel works. So like for investment fund secrets, they have the call funnel that basically gives them the free whatever. And it's just a free case study, and then it goes straight to the call to the 30K coaching program. But we also have people that they have a $2,000 mastermind sold through the webinar, and also they have a $47 mini course, and they eventually make it to the 30K program. So it just depends on the person and who you're targeting.
Yeah, it's great to know that there's no one fixed correct way to do things. Some more leeway to flex to what you want to do, and that's perfect, because you also need to match your clients. It's also one of the benefits of working with consultants, because consultants and coaches who can teach you for this kind of market, this thing might be better, or they might bring a completely new way of thinking about your funnel, and there's definitely value out there. In terms of diagnosing whether the issue is in your ads or in your funnel, what's the best way to go about that?
In my little profitability calculator, put in your monthly average ad spend and then your average cost per click, right? So you have those 2 things, and then you look on your website, because if your cost per click is good, it means they're interested in your ad. So if it's really high, it means they're not interested in whatever you're saying in your ad. And so once they get to the first page, your landing page, then you put the conversion rate on that and you test that out. Let's say you're giving a free lead magnet or something. Typically conversion rate's higher, between 10 and 30%, versus something that sells a $47 tripwire product that might convert at like a 3% or something like that. And then you put the conversion rate on every step of the funnel. and then it gauges where you're at. The important part is just to track everything. Even if you're doing a webinar funnel or something like that, your opt-in page might convert super well because your ads do super well. All they do is put in their email, but then you have to see how well you sell in the webinar, and you can see where the engagement rate drops off. Because if it's not engaging and you don't sell well, the funnel just won't work. Like, it's not an ads problem. You could be getting a great cost per lead. That's what I can control as an ads buyer. But what I can't control is your ability to sell in a webinar. Like that's up to you. So.
Yeah, so just tracking every single piece. If you're finding that the cost per click is very high, then it's likely that it's probably in the ads, or there's an ads issue. Then maybe later there's a funnels issue, but there's definitely an ads issue.
Yeah.
And if you're finding that the conversion is low for if you have a video sales letter or a webinar or something else in the middle along that flow, then it's likely in the funnels.
If you are like an ads buyer, the coach or the client or whatever, they will blame you for not seeing conversions. Then I realized you can diagnose where the problem is, so you don't have to put all the blame on yourself. And so you can be like, oh no, like you need to fix this, or this is where the drop off rate is.
Yeah, awesome. I'd love to do a bit of a deep dive on one specific technique, so webinars. And the questions I have around webinars is, what should be the approximate average conversion that you should expect? Should they be live? Can you automate anything? Maybe can you give an example?
Yeah. So I guess there's two different case studies that I have. One is also the investment fund secrets again, but I'll start with them. They did lives before, like, their first year and a half of business. And Russell Brunson does teach this in the ClickFunnels community. What a lot of people mistakenly do is they see all these people doing webinars and they just go straight to automated. A lot of people in the course space or in the coaching space will go straight to automated because why not? Like, it saves you a lot more time. People don't know how to sell, and they don't, because it's different selling one-on-one to masses, right? Like, it's just different. It might be more similar to selling on a stage of a lot of people. And they did lives for about a year weekly, and they're just selling their course, selling their coaching and their course and stuff like that. And then they made it automated, and that webinar killed it for about another year and a half. And then it fatigued, and they're having to change it up constantly. When they're selling live, they're closing at a 10% rate, which is awesome. After a year of testing, once they hit that 10% live close rate, then they automated it. And when it was automated, obviously it closes less. So like in running ads to the automated one, it was between like 2 and 3% automated, but they didn't have to touch anything. They just needed an ads guy and whatever. I had another course creator who teach people how to become six-figure data scientists, right? He had a lot of success in it as huge consultant. So he had a lot of social proof, but he just didn't know how to sell in the webinar. He followed another model that I didn't think was very effective for his niche. And we got cost per lead down from $20 down to $2. So I got it down within a month. And so like, okay, the ads are doing good. We know that the ads are selling, but the webinar, we were tracking all the stats and everything. And we just noticed that there was like total drop off rate within the first literally minute of him spieling. And he was teaching the 10 tips or mistakes that most data scientists make, which might be good for an ad or something like that. But for a full-on webinar, he's just focusing on the problem or the mistakes. My copywriting mentor decided to take him on as a client, and this is what he did with him. And this is what I do now for all my people, but he interviewed a bunch of his current customers who bought his program, said, why did you buy from Matt versus any other data scientists out there? Not a super saturated market for the course industry, but why did you buy from him? What made you trust him? Going from a cold Facebook prospect to a buyer, right, on the first time. And we eventually tweaked things. We ended up not doing the automated webinar and just doing lives weekly every Thursday at a specific time, like a show, right? So it's always at a specific time, same date, and you tweak one thing at a time. So he didn't totally boggle his mind. He still knew how to do his own presentation, but he tweaked one thing at a time. And after about 3 or 4 months, he's been doing it. We are closing. Sometimes we'll close well, sometimes we won't, but we're closing. He has had a couple 10% close rates, and we're getting like 40 people. And this is for a $3,000 course. And sometimes it'll be less, but like he's learning new misconceptions or people see resistance, basically turn on their BS radar. The whole goal of Facebook prospecting is take someone cold to go to high ticket, right? Like someone who just sees you. They're not even searching it. It just pops up in their feed. But find out all the resistance they have and turn off their BS radar within the webinar so that they fully trust you. Give them a lot of urgency so that they're like, I have to buy now or I'll never get this offer again, and beef up that offer like crazy and then close them. I guess that was the second case study of like, sometimes you have to relook at your webinar, and there is a benefit to doing lives starting out, like strictly lives.
Yeah. I think that was an incredible point you made, especially about interviewing, especially if you already have a few customers, you can interview them and actually ask them, what was it? Why did you buy from me? And that piece of information can give you like essentially the hook of exactly what should be the main thing you focus your copywriting around, whether it's text copywriting or whether it goes into the webinar, right?
Oh, absolutely. You don't need to know any fancy words to be a copywriter. You don't need to be good at spelling or something like that. I personally hate reading. I've learned to love reading since learning copywriting because it forced it on me. My coach did, but I don't have a big vocabulary or anything. It's literally just finding out the real pain points versus assumption. I'll interview my clients and be like, why do people buy from you? They'll tell me one thing. And there's a lot of overlap when I interview their customers after that. But there's certain things where it's just like the business owner couldn't tell me that or didn't know what was actually going on in their head, because the customer simply has stories. They have a story of, for example, there's a story, this keto coach selling a keto product, and she wanted to lose weight. And she kept buying these keto products, and interviewing was just like, why are you buying these keto products, right? She's like, oh, I want to lose weight. What enticed you to do it? And the original headline was on the lines of lose your first 5 pounds in 30 days, like typical health type products. And that's what the video sales letter was on. But then after interviewing this lady, she was like, you want to know the real reason why? And we kept breaking it down. And she basically just said, I used to be a babe in high school. Everyone looked at my butt. I got married. I got divorced. I had a kid. As pregnant women do, it's hard to lose the baby weight or something like that. And so she's like, I have not been able to lose that. And I miss being single again. I miss going to bars and people looking at my butt. And that was like the real reason. So we made that whole video sales letter on that, and it killed after. Because if one person has a story, at least 1,000 other people in the US, if you're selling to the masses, has that other story. And so the more specific you can get, the more people can relate versus just like, yeah, lose your first 5 pounds. Like everyone's saying that. Like, how can you stand out from the crowd, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make your butt look good.
Yeah, make your butt look good again, right?
Yeah, I love it. It's like that emotional connection. I think one piece of advice as well that I've received, which is great, I think, is your writing, your messaging should try to touch the heart and also the head. And so like try to kind of show the like logical reasons why you should do things, but also like the emotional, if you like that kind of hits an insecurity, which is very personal, and like many people can relate to that more simply than just like a generic statement. Yeah.
It is important to interview customers, because the more you interview, you gather more stories. And that's all what people remember as far as the emotional side of things. If you can convince them through a story, like they'll remember that, and that'll make a sale.
Absolutely. Awesome. Switching gears to from webinars to the social ads, so Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Of course, TikTok is a massively growing platform and an exciting one, and also a bit of a scary one, a bit of a murky one. Unclear what's going on exactly there. If you can shed some light on that, what's the process of driving traffic from those social ads? How do they differ? And yeah, how do you go about this?
Yeah. So TikTok is very new. I think the TikTok ads platform, like where you could actually start running ads, I think it came out in the beginning of 2021. TikTok has been around for a while, like organically, but as far as the ads platform goes, it's constantly changing. Like Facebook, the principles as far as the platform goes, there's less space to actually put headlines or copy and stuff like that. You honestly only get 30 characters or something like that of actual copy that you'll see at the bottom left of it. Obviously, there's a call to action, but I would say 95% of the work is in the creative part. One important thing is to always make a TikTok organic style video for your ad. One thing too, don't transfer Facebook ads over to TikTok, but you can transfer TikTok style ads over to Facebook, and they do really well. We've tried that quite a bit with our coaches, and we only make TikTok style types of ads where it's like text popping out, quick scenes, stuff like that, and they do really well on Facebook and Instagram still. So if I were to suggest as far as 2022, just like the more TikTok style ads you can make, one, you can put them on TikTok if you want, but you can still use them for. But yeah, 95% is in creative. I have also noticed too that just how the algorithm goes, because it's very trendy, you do typically have to change up the ads every 14 days. So it's not so much like how I've done with Facebook with 8-month campaigns, stuff like that. Producing content is important. You can produce it yourself. You can produce it with your customers or influencers you can pay, or you can simply, they have this creator site on TikTok where you can find creators in your niche, and they've made it successful organically. You have to have, I think, over 100K subscribers or followers in order to even qualify as creator that you can buy from. And it's actually pretty cool because you can reach out to other creators in the industry and they'll make ads for you. You just tell them exactly what to say, but they'll make a cool style ad or whatever, like organic TikTok style. The whole point is to not look like an ad and for people to engage. And we've done that in the past, and it's actually been very successful. And they have it in all niches, so you can definitely find it in your coaching space.
Yeah, it's crazy the amount of views people are exponentially growing to on TikTok, and especially in terms of being effective with your time whilst creating content and ads. It makes sense to do TikTok and transfer that over rather than only being able to post on Facebook with.
Yeah, and definitely jump on the bandwagon of TikTok. CPMs, cost per impressions, are dirt cheap. The reason why I jumped on it is because someone told me that they saw TikTok being Facebook 10 years ago. Everyone was telling me, they're like, oh, TikTok's so stupid. No one sells high ticket stuff on TikTok or whatever. In 2021, like mainly low ticket e-com products were being sold, mainly because the people say that the following was like 14 and 15-year-olds. But in reality, it's just like Facebook and Instagram. People say that about Instagram. Not everyone has Instagram. So the faster you can jump on and start selling and learning the platform, then the faster you can be like the TikTok millionaire, because no one else is doing it. So like CPMs for like investment people, I was getting leads Yeah, $5 to $15 for in the finance industry. On TikTok right now, like $1 or less. Cost per click is like 20 cents. So hop on them, and that's for a conversion campaign.
That's crazy numbers, yeah. I think one thing that probably scares me off and potentially scares other people off is that we feel you have to be a hot girl dancing to make it. What are your suggestions for making?
The real answer is you do have to be hot. No, I'm just kidding. But no, as far as creating the creative, so one thing that I've learned is on Facebook and Instagram for coaches, this is what I see a lot. They'll have like their camera or their phone and they can just take a one thing selfie type thing and just be like talking kind of interview style. So with TikTok, everything's all about fast motion for the creative of different scenes. So even if you want to do this, do one angle, telling people what to do like this, have some pop-ups, a lot of like text and your headlines or your points that you want to get across. And then I would do that for different scenes. I've noticed randomly, but it does a lot better. And what you use in the ad copy for Facebook, you can easily make those as pop-ups. So typically the headline that I'll use, I'll just have that as like a static headline up at the top or something that just stays there. So if it's 5 ways to lose your first 5 pounds in 20 days or less, just have that static as the headline while you're talking and have other things popping out as your primary text. So that's how I think about it from a Facebook advertiser going to TikTok. As far as length of time, I've gotten that question a lot. With prospecting ads, I would say 20 to 30 seconds is typically what I've tried, versus Facebook, you can go on for a minute or two is typically what I've seen. But for prospecting, 20, 30 seconds, just get them to get that sweet click. You just got to get them that swipe or that click. And then for retargeting ads, because they're warmer, right? I say a minute is fine. Something like an unboxing video or a video testimonial or something like typically does well. But for prospecting, just super high engaging, stuff like that.
Awesome. Super interesting and helpful, and good to know that I don't have to be a hot girl dancing.
Yeah. It probably helped, but no, I'm kidding.
I don't doubt it. Awesome. And then we also recently had a webinar with an awesome coach, Mark Mawini, around organic marketing. So we spoke about the free ways to drive traffic, community building, email, newsletters, all that kind of stuff. My question to you would be, you've seen the power of ads. They definitely do work. But when should one coach or a course creator begin using Facebook and Instagram and TikTok ads? And when should they stick with organic marketing to begin with?
Yeah, I always say whenever you combine organic and paid, that's like the strongest combination, because people that see your paid ads are still going to want to stalk you, look at your profile, see how many followers you have. So the more followers you have builds some type of trust, even if not bot followers or whatever, but like it just gives a credibility. So
Social proof, right? The followers.
yeah, social proof, exactly. I worked with a lot of course creators and coaches that are startups, and sometimes I turn them down because it depends on their budget, right? So if someone, for example, I had a coach who's in the real estate investing in the multifamily properties, and he was already making like over $1 million a year just in his other business. So I already have a following organically with my other business, but for this course/coaching business, I just want to dump money in and I don't have a lot of time. And so we just went straight to paid ads, and he's still doing organic stuff for his other business, but it still worked. But the typical coach or course creator has seen success in what they've done, hopefully, and has proof. And then they go from agency life or helping other people do it to doing it with them and coaching them. And typically they don't have what I've seen. If they're not making over 10K, 20K months, I say start organic. Typically, once they can get consistent 10K a month and they're organic, then at least they know how to sell on the phone. They know how to get clients organically. Then turn those into ads. Do what you do. You find out more misconceptions like interviewing clients or customers. Spending all this money on ads, figure out how to sell organically, and then I typically suggest make 10K months consistently, then do ads, so that if they spend 10K in their first month or 2 months or something of ads and they have no other business coming, then they're like, I just want to quit. Yeah.
Yeah. Once you have that kind of proven that the product is in demand, the market exists, then you can scale that up and figure out how to scale using phone calls and other funnels.
Yes. And one thing too that a lot of I've seen coaches do that I agree with, if you're doing like a pre-launch to your coaching program or course and you just want to test the market with ads, it never hurts to throw in $500 into Facebook and just have people on a waiting email list, seeing if there's a demand for your product even before you make the product. So I've seen a lot of people do that, which I think is smart.
Mm-hmm.
You can see off of a cold audience versus a warmer audience when you're organically doing it and people follow you for a long time. See what average cost per lead is, see how my messaging is. And so I think that's a good way for R&D.
Figure out if the market exists. What exactly would you drive them to? What would that landing page look like?
Typically what I've done is have an opt-in page. It gives you your name, email, and optional phone number, or you can make it required. It's always good to have a follow-up text or email sequence. So, and it basically there's a video sales letter and talks about the product. And you're basically saying, this is pre-launch. I'm making this product. I'm seeing who's interested in it. If you want my early bird special, and tell them what's all going to be in it, or give them this irresistible offer so that they join your mailing list. And pretty simple. You don't need a lot of copy or something like that. Typically I've seen the shorter ones do better. Maybe some benefits down on the bottom, maybe some testimonials at the bottom or something like that. And then once they join it, it says, thanks for joining our early bird special waitlist, something like that. And then you have a drip campaign, or you just nourish them until your launch date. And then at least you get a lot of pre-sales, right? So on the irresistible offer, because the urgency is, if you don't opt in now on our waitlist, then you don't get the discounted offer or the whatever else you add to it.
Yeah, awesome. Completely makes sense. Awesome. And you've done some incredible work already for many other coaches, like actually doing done for you ads and funnels and helping them with all that kind of stuff. And now you're branching out a little bit into coaching. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So now that I have some results and numbers on my back and stuff like that, I'm niching to help course creators and high ticket coaches specifically, and doing a do it with you program. Because Facebook ad platform changes all the time. There's people that have courses out there, but there's a reason why they're still not seeing results and reaching out to me for help. So if they can't afford the expensive do it for you service and they're more in the mid-range or startup phase, I have a do it with you program to basically help you with it.
Awesome. And as everybody listening has heard, that you've shared some incredible gold nuggets. So if you enjoyed that, you want to speak to Travis more, you can find him at his Penside profile, so penside.com/x/Travis Mo. We'll share the link in the show notes again. And Travis, anywhere else they can find you, or you recommend them following you?
Yeah, I have good organic presence on Facebook and LinkedIn. Just my name. I think it's me with some glasses on. And then you can find me on TikTok as well. But I would say Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, I'm most active organically.
Yeah, and then you can jump on a call with him on Penside. Thank you so much, Travis, for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure. And there's so much golden nuggets, so much treasure to delve into. There's things that we'll be applying as well here at Penside. Look forward to speaking to you soon.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll be releasing new ones every Wednesday. Make sure to subscribe and rate us 5 stars on your favorite podcast platform to give other people the chance to discover us too.